news conference was just held with the leaders of the European Union and the head of the Nobel Committee. No question was asked, and they took almost no questions from women, only the first, about the issue of militarization of the European countries, the European Union.
Most of you will not be able to ask your questions. I think the final question will go to the gentleman in the back. Yes, you have waited the longest.
My question to them would have been, as the streets are about to fill with protests, no question was asked about the peace protests about to take place in the streets of Oslo, as many gather from around the world, questioning, criticizing the awarding of the Nobel Peace Prize to the European Union. The issues being raised that the European Union's reliance on arms exports, European Union member states account for a third of the world's total arms exports. Afterwards, I put that question to Martin Schulz, president of the European Parliament, one of those receiving the Nobel Peace Prize on behalf of the European Union. I caught up with him at the Grand Hotel, where today's Nobel banquet will be held. I asked if the EU's reliance on arms exports makes it a far greater force for war than for peace.
The European Union is not a federal state with a known army and a known export of weapons. This is, for example, my country, the Federal Republic of Germany, as a sovereign state. It is not decided in Brussels. Weapons export of Germany is decided in Berlin, and it's decided in Paris and decided in London. To blame the European Union for unacceptable policy of a member state of the European Union, this is not appropriated. Therefore, I understand the people that they want more peace and less export of weapons, but they should not blame the European Union for an item the Union is not responsible.
But they say the member states, if you add them up, the weapons sold around the European member states add up to something like the second largest arms exporter in the world.
Yeah, but that's not the Union. The European Union, the biggest donor of support and development aid in the world. That's responsible of the Union. The European Union is responsible for international cooperation. But in the Treaty of the European Union, it is absolutely clear that the Union is not responsible for armament, for weapons. These are the member states alone. The Union, I must repeat it, and this is a big misunderstanding of a lot of people. The European Union is not a federal state. We are a federation of sovereign states, and some of the elements of their policy they are reserving for themselves. And this is defense policy. Weapons export is exclusively in the rights of the member states.
What are they doing to fight that militarization?
The European Union as a whole is, I repeat it, a soft power. We try to influence the worldwide development without weapons, with more development, with more support for international economic cooperation. The European Union is the biggest donor of aid and solidarity in the world. So my answer is quite clear. The Union is on a better way than some of the member states of the Union.
Last question. Syriza was there, one of the parties in Greece. Syriza, one of the parties in Greece. And the press releases that they issued, they said the European Union austerity policies, which even the IMF is balking at, are causing mass unemployment. Suicide is going up. Permanent economic decline in these countries. Your response to that?
I think partially they are right. The exclusively austerity policy is wrong. We need budgetary discipline, but we need also investment in growth and employment. And that was what was lacking in the European Union during the last years. Since the June summit of the member states, we decided for the first time a rescue package of investments. But Greece was also stabilized with a lot of money from other European countries. It is not true that it is only the European Union imposing burdens. My country, for example, decided to give 40 billion euros of the 130 billion strong package to rescue Greece, and it was not paid to torture the country, it was paid to save the country. But I repeat, in one point they are right with the critics. Only to cut leads to nothing. We need budgetary discipline on one hand and investment in growth and especially in employment on the other side.